Dr. Fatih Birol, thank you for giving us some of your time. Let's start with this. Electricity demand is expected to grow to record levels in the years ahead. Can you just explain why it is that we need so much electricity?
Electricity is the future. We use oil, gas, coal, renewables, different types of energy sources. But electricity is the future because when we look around, we use more and more electricity. Let's take the homes where we live. We have much more equipments run by electricity, ranging from our computers, our phones, and our heating equipments. Coming transportation, more and more cars are going to be electrified cars. Electric cars are growing very strongly. And in the industry sector, coal and gas they are more and more replaced by electricity. So when we look at around the world, we see that the role of oil and gas have today in the global energy mix will be gradually, in fact more than gradually, replaced by electricity in the future. So therefore the question is, which sources we are going to use to produce that electricity?
You mentioned the sources of electricity. I just wonder, to provide all this extra power, your latest investment report says that $3 trillion is being invested globally this year. A third of that is still in fossil fuels. Is that too much given the fight against climate change?
So 2-to-1 ratio in favor of clean energy is a good news at first sight, but if we want to reach our climate targets, it is still not strong enough, and the fossil energy is still too high if we want to reach our climate targets. So therefore, there is a need to accelerate the clean energy investments, especially the emerging and developing world. When I say $2 trillion US, it's a good number, but 85% of this 2 trillion is taking place, those investments in the advanced economies in China. Only 15% of the investment go to emerging and developing countries where more than 2/3 of the global population lives.
Dr. Birol, are you worried about the political aspect of moving to even more renewable energy? Because if we look at the recent European Parliament elections, there was some pushback against green policies. And if we look to the US, where the presidential election is happening later this year, there is a clear dividing line when it comes to green energy policies.
In my view, clean energy transition is irreversible because they are not only driven, not even mainly driven by the policies of the governments, but the economics. Today, solar is the cheapest source of electricity generation. Leave aside the climate benefits of that. It's cheap. Electric cars are very soon going to be competitive vis-a-vis the internal combustion engine cars. If a country doesn't want to be behind the others in terms of the industry sector, they have to invest in clean energy manufacturing. Otherwise, they will be left behind and their economies will not be competitive.
You mentioned solar power. Your latest investment report says that actually the biggest share of money is going into that $500 billion. But are you worried by the fact that around 80% of solar panels are actually manufactured in China? The US has just announced new tariffs on those. Is there a concern that the manufacturing is too concentrated and that could harm their rollout around the world?
Solar is the technology that is transforming the electricity sector. Today, of all power plants built in the world, of all of them, 60% is solar. And this is not driven by climate concerns. It is mainly driven because it is cheap. 10 years ago, solar was a romantic story. However, there is one issue we need to take into consideration. Today, one single country, which is China, is manufacturing about 85% of all solar capacity. Leave aside which country it is. The magic word, in my view, is diversification. So therefore, it is important that the countries, it can be European, India, I don't know, Middle East, United States, need to look at the solar and other clean energy manufacturing and provide diversification as much as possible in order to minimize several type of risk, from the natural risks, the political risks, political to economic risks.
Dr. Fatih Birol, head of the International Energy Agency, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.